Alright, so that test went well, and we got good bed adhesion at 40 degrees centigrade, and 225 was a good temperature for printing. I think I've said on a few other videos, I don't think there's the exact temperature that's always the best. Like a few degrees here or there isn't going to matter that much. That's my experience. So we're putting everything else at 225, so we're going to stick with that. Although the PLA, that is. And so here's my layer adhesion and cracking test. So it's just a simple angle here, right angle. And the base helps test bed adhesion. So if any of the corners are curling up, it means you don't have good bed adhesion. And this corner right here is the weakest point. So if you're not getting good layer adhesion, you won't, it'll crack right here. So we'll be testing that when we print this. Also, I threw in some raised and inset letters to see how the details are. And this gives a good contrast to this flat surface to see how the cooling is working as far as, not remelting the surface when you're doing these letters in little small areas here. So this is a great test. Again, I'll have a link to this in the show notes. It's on Thingiverse, so it's free. And there's not much to do here. This is the same every time. We just only difference is going to be when we go over to Simplify 3D and we set the temperatures and the cooling. Let's go over to there, and I've already loaded it in here. Here's our STL file from the OpenSCAD. And for our process, everything is default. We get the temperature. We got 40 degree bed temperature and 225 on the nozzle. And cooling after the first layer with PLA. At the first layer, we're doing 100% fan speed. And we're helping control the temperature when it gets cold in the garage by closing the lid and the door and using a heat lamp. I've shown that on some other videos for the intake air into the printer. Because the Flashforge is a enclosed printer, you have a lot better control over the temperature. So it prints much more consistently. I'm never going to buy an open frame 3D printer. So it's just I'm interested. What I want is consistency. So. Anyway, so this is okay, and we'll just prepare to print. And again, 55 minutes. These are two great tests that take less than an hour. The temperature tower and the layer and bed and layer adhesion and cracking test. And then you've got your filament pretty well characterized after these two. So you're ready to go on and do bigger and better things. So we'll put this on an SD card, and we'll come back and we'll switch over to the time lapse, and then we'll come back and see how we did and do our fun print. We have a new fun print just for Halloween. Looks like another successful print. One little string. This is the best spatula ever, so I'll have a link to this in the show notes. Definitely get this one. Check the layer adhesion. It's good, solid. Solid without being too much. Let's check the bottom. Bottom is clean, no signs of bubbling. Turn this on the light on. Let's see. The surface is shiny. That's good. That's a good sign. Surface is shiny and the letters are well defined. And the inset letters are good. Now this is the test. We're going to squeeze here. This doesn't crack, it's solid. So I'm pressing really hard. If I press harder, I bet I could crack it if I press really hard. But this is nice and solid. So we got our cooling, temperature and cooling. So layer adhesions feature function of two things. Extrusion temperature and cooling fan speed. So With PLA, you normally want to be a pretty high fan speed, so I'm using 100%. And if the temperature is correct and the cooling is set up correctly, then you get good layer adhesion and these kind of things won't crack. Alright, so that's great. Looking good. So now we're going to go on to our fun print. And I'll do that on the computer, and then we'll come back here and do a time lapse. Okay, so that test went well. So we're going to go ahead and save this as... so all the FilaCubes are printing pretty much the same. We're just going to have a profile called FilaCube where we do the 100% fan after second layer, and temperature 40-degree bed, 225 nozzle. Everything else we have pretty much the same. Haven't really needed this 125% layer. Usually 110 is plenty to get it to stick, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. No reason to waste extra filament. It also makes a little foot at the bottom of the part, so we don't really want that either. So, all right, so this was good. So now what we'll do is we'll go over and do our fun print, because it's October, so we're going to print this ghost. Seems like a good thing to print in white. This is a ghost that doesn't require any supports. It's hollow in the middle, so we'll see how well that works. And we did print this on the I created this project and I've just used this filament as a template, but we're going to use the FilaCube. So again, temperature 225, cooling 100%, and the layer has got the 110%. So, all right, so we're going to print this and see how long it takes to print. This comes in different sizes. This is the smallest. This is just a test print for fun. I don't want to use a lot of filament and time printing this. So it only takes 40 minutes to print, so that's a good size for a fun print. And we'll just check the layering here and see if we see any issues with when it does the eyes. They're ovals, so when it gets closer to the top, there's no problem bridging across the top there. So right in here, it's bridging, and pretty soon it'll bridge this eye. See, that's a pretty short distance, so it should do that easily without any supports. And then the top is a cone. If you look from the bottom, it's making a cone shape, which again, you're just overlapping the previous layer slightly, and there's no problem with printing that without any supports. So I try to avoid supports. Sometimes they're unavoidable, but try to avoid supports if I can. And then this area over here is steeper than 45 degrees. There should be no problem printing this with any quality filament. It should stick together, and assuming you have it dialed in. So this is a good test to make sure we have it dialed in, because we have some overhangs and so forth and some bridging. So this is a fun test and also useful. All right, so it only takes 40 minutes and only uses a little over 3 1/3 grams, so that's great. We'll save this to a SIM card and try it in the printer, and then switch over to the time lapse. He's cute. So what's the string hanging off the end? Okay. Let's see how we did. I'll turn this other light on. And he's nice and on the bed. That's good. So we can get out there. Yeah. So this a little hard to see. I think you can see it now. This is a shaved. It's a little bit tapered on this side. This side is flat. So if you put this side on top, and you give it a little bit of flex, you can really get under almost anything. So. All right, there's our little ghost for Halloween. You can see the layer lines pretty well, which is necessarily a good thing. If I printed it again, I could print 0.1 millimeter. layers, it would look better. But I think it came out great. A little bit of stringing, but no big deal. So all the overhangs are fine. The eyes bridged perfectly. So I think we got this filament dialed in. A little bit of gapping here on the back, but that's okay. Anyway, I think we got this filament dialed in. It's time to print our real thing that we've been working on, designing for our new product. So I'll show that after this, and hope you like it. All right, so I wanted to show you what I did with my white filament that I just showed you how to test it. I designed this strange looking object here, and before I tell you what it is, I'll show you. It also has something that comes out, which is also strange looking. So what I made was a replica of the first core sample taken by Perseverance, the Mars rover. So besides my Star Wars stuff, I also make space model replicas. So I have a Ingenuity helicopter. That's the Mars helicopter. I have a model of that you can get on my Etsy store. I also have this new sample tube. So this is taking a core sample that's going to be returned to the Earth eventually. So they find out what the inside of rocks on Mars are all about. So that's what I use the white filament for. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Post a comment if you have any questions or ideas, and I'll try to respond. That's all for now, but more videos are coming, and if you want to see them, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification icon if you don't want to miss one. This is Beta Cygni signing out, and keep looking up.